What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another Hellbound Garage. Look at me. I'm sitting down. That's not normally a thing for me. Normally I'm standing up with all the big projects that are underneath my belt. But today we're going to be doing something a little different, a little smaller. And honestly, I completely forgot that I had this project because it's been tucked away in a corner in my garage. And with all the drop cloths that have been stapled to my ceiling for painting the engine bay and doing the bed liner on the underside of the Datsun, I really haven't seen much of my garage. So this right here, or what's in here, is actually today's project. So let me open it up and show you everything that's inside. Well, can you tell what we're doing today? Probably not. But let me tell you about what we're doing. Let me give you a little backstory. And the backstory is I like all aspects of cars. Doesn't matter what it is. I enjoy watching all of it. Anything from the ridiculous to the super cool to honestly probably the super lame to most people. And today's project was something that my ADHD kind of got the best of me and kind of clung, and I got hyper focused, and all I did was watch like 2 or 3 weeks worth of detailing videos. How to detail a car better, how to detail a car quicker, things of that nature. And I kind of got caught by the bug. And in that instance, I ended up buying chemicals, I started buying tools, all kinds of things to try and get a better understanding or learn how to detail better. Which is kind of funny because we only have one car that honestly deserves to be detailed, and that's my wife's car. Now that car, I have learned a lot on the exterior cleaning and detailing of that car because of the soft paint by Mazda. It gets swirls and scratches quite easily, so learning to clay bar and paint correct has definitely been a thing with that car just to make it look as good as possible. One thing that I don't have a whole lot of experience in, which is kind of funny because it's honestly a little cheaper than exterior detailing, is interior detailing. And I used to pay to have my wife's car detailed during the holidays because she couldn't decide what she wanted to have, and that's what she asked for. So that kind of became a normal thing, which was fine and dandy, but it's like I can learn how to do that. So that's where today's project comes into play. I wanted a tool, but I didn't want a tool dedicated specifically to one purpose. I'm very much a fan of tools that can do multiple things, and we're making one of those today. And its base is the vacuum, and that is an Automotive carpet extractor. So that way I can scrub her floors in the car, get them super clean, and then essentially use a handheld carpet cleaner to suck out all the chemicals and give it a nice rinse, kind of like your standard house carpet cleaner. There are things like the Bissell Pet Clean, and that's a little handheld deal you get at like Target and whatnot. Those are super good for beginner detailers. This is just the way I decided to go because, once again, I didn't want a tool that can only serve one purpose. All right, so with that, let's take a closer look at all the parts and start putting this thing together. All right, so I kind of laid out the parts and how they are going to go together, and then I'll do a time lapse of actually putting the entire thing as one unit. So the main parts of this is we have a hose barb, a couple of fittings, a handle valve or whatever you may want to call it. This clamp here actually goes into the grooves of this handle, and then we'll clamp to that pipe. We've got an extension, on 45, and this really important carpet extractor nozzle. And then we also have a carpet extractor vacuum head, I guess, if you want to call it that. And I chose to go with clear so I could see what was going on. I also had the metal base, so there's less chance of it cracking when you're pushing down, trying to get everything out of the carpets. But this is the base of the carpet extractor. All these parts can be found either at your local hardware store or on Amazon. But from here, let's go ahead and get it all put together. So that is the base of the extractor, and honestly, this is what you're paying for most of the extractors. You can actually buy something very similar to this on Amazon, complete, but doing it this way saved me a couple of bucks and allowed me to decide the parts that I use for it, where you're getting what you pay for if you buy it as a complete assembly. So the next part of this whole project is this, and that is a hose. In my case, I went to Harbor Freight and found a hose. This happened to actually be on clearance. It's this nice orange, which I kind of like this. It shows very easily if it's dirty or whatnot, and it happened to be just the right size to give decent pressure for water. So I've already went ahead and I've already put two ends on this. This end, or this end, I guess it doesn't really matter. One of these ends is going to connect to this hose barb. The other end of this hose is going to go to this guy. So this is a specific fitting that attaches to your normal spigot, or whatever you may call it, and has a hose barb on it already. Now I'm going to make this a little bit easier on myself. I don't necessarily want this on my hose all the time, and if I'm doing a full detail on a car, and that includes an exterior wash, I don't want to have to disconnect this guy in order to attach a hose to be able to wash the exterior or wheels or whatever it may be. So with this guy, I also picked up this, and this is a quick disconnect. So I can pop it on and off if I really feel like it. Give an open water source pretty easy. So it's gonna go right like this. And then, to make life even easier, I picked up a two-way valve. So that way I can have my normal hose attached to this side, so I can either have it attached to a pressure water or normal hose and wash the car that way. And then I have this other side that'll be attached to the extractor. Less running around, just makes things more convenient. And the very last part of the actual extractor itself is a vacuum hose. Now, I researched a lot and tried to find the best hose that I could come up with to fit my situation. And, well, because I am just now opening all this stuff and putting this all together on video for the first time, I've seen a couple of issues. So this guy here, this adapter, fits perfectly on here. It's awesome. It's a perfect fit. The problem is the adapters that are off in the corner that fit this hose only fit on this side, which stinks because this adapter right here, this one, happens to connect perfectly to the other side of the hose, which would be this end, but only fits in this end. So there's where my problem lies in. I have one fitting that fits both ends, and this other size is too small for my application. But I will show you quick anyways how everything will go together. And I've also found another problem, and that is the spacing. I was wondering why everybody cuts this end off. If you watch any other video, most people cut this end off and they have a hose barb situation, and I figured out why that is. Nobody tells you it, but it's because of this here. So you can fit this in, fits perfect, nice quick disconnect, no problem. Oops, easy peasy. But then it comes to this end, and you have to force it on there pretty good. Now it fits, puts a little bit of stress on this guy here, but overall it still fits. Now that would be the extractor. If you have a normal vacuum or whatnot, this will work. You have your water source, you've got your vacuum, and then for me, I will also zip tie these two together along the entire stretch. That way they stay nice and close, and I'll snip the ends of the zip ties and maybe even put like a sheath over this entire thing. That way it doesn't get stuck on the interior and possibly tear anything or nick anything. But overall, that is the extractor. But I wanted something more, so let me show you the next part of this. I have jumped ahead a little bit, but as you can see, this is the next part of it. And what this is this is a lid to a 5-gallon bucket, this green one right here. What this is going to do is we're going to assemble this, and this is going to act as a trap. Essentially what will happen is the extractor will be attached to one end, kind of like this. I still have to figure out the fitting problem, but for now it'll have to go down in this, and water's heavier than air, so this one end it'll be here, and then this other end the air will come back up and go to the actual vacuum, so it catches all the water and all the dirt and stuff inside the 5-gallon pail. So let's go ahead and assemble it real quick, and I'll show you the final product. Now we have our extractor trap lid already. Just set it on top of here. Depending on the lid and the bucket that you decide to end up with, you'll end up having to cut slits on the side just to make it easier for this lid to come off. This lid is relatively soft, so it does come off on and off relatively easy. So that is the trap collector. Now, this isn't just for water. You can use this for dirt, sawdust, all that good stuff, if you don't want things to end up in your vacuum. There are a lot more extravagant versions of this for people in smaller garages. Somebody like Soupy from Hoonigan Garage, if you actually look at his personal garage when they were in the pandemic, his vacuum setup is way up high, out of the way, and then he can just vacuum wherever. It's the same kind of deal. Mine is just smaller and simpler. I'm going to go get this set up real quick because I do want to test it out. No point in making a video if I don't figure out if it actually works or if there's any leakage or anything. Now, it won't be the total setup. I think I'm just going to use the extractor portion. The bucket trap is kind of a no-brainer guarantee. Plenty of people have done it, but I want to see how my homemade extractor works. So let me go get it set up, and I think we'll test it on the truck. All right, I'll show you this real quick before I've got everything strung out. We've got our deal at the spigot. I have to tighten this up still, but it's really hard because they don't give you a wrench handle. They give you those plastic black things that you tighten by hand, and it works okay, but it's kind of a pain, especially after it gets wet. On this end, we've got the extractor handle, and here I'll show you the water pressure. Sorry, this is kind of, everything's fighting against you, but can you see a nice fine fan? So we now know that the water portion of the extractor works. Let me get the vacuum all set up and we'll finally test it on the carpet of the truck. Alright, so I got everything hooked up, and I'm just going to be using some general purpose degreaser that's diluted to spray on the floor, and then that way at least you'll see like the suds and stuff being sucked up in the head. I'm not entirely sure that this is going to show terribly much because this side of the truck never gets ridden in, and it's got a full-size floor mat in it, so it's not really ever that dirty. But let's give it a try anyways and see what we can see. Wasn't exactly the greatest video. I do apologize. I don't have any carpet floor mats that I could pull out and just use as a test, so I had to use my truck. But you still saw all the nasty orange stuff. I'm not really sure what that is. I hope it's not rust. We're gonna find out later, just because now I'm curious. But yeah, there you have it. It actually worked out, and surprisingly, that was with the two hoses, the one from the extractor end and my shop vac hose. I was having them duct taped together because none of the fittings matched anywhere. So super crazy, but overall worked, and it's a super success. Can't wait to try it out in my wife's Mazda, and who knows, maybe you'll see the results on this channel or on my Instagram or whatnot. But anyways, that's gonna do it for this one. Until next time, thank you for watching.